Good morning, friends. Let's sing together a morning song. We'll be singing out of the Gray Hymn Book, hymn number 389, Gathered Here, when we had our favorite hymn Sunday. This was Sharon Love's favorite hymn. And so let's sing it together once, and then we'll break up and have a great round. I invite you to rise in body and our spirit. If you're joining us online, the lyrics will be posted in the chat. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. We're ready to sing around. You're already warmed up. You did your me, 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 la, la, la while you were in the shower. Let's have this side of the room be group number 1 and then group number 2. And we'll sing it through 3 times. And I'll try to stay off the microphone so you don't have a big mouth arguing with where you're at, okay? And sing out nice and robust, and you'll be surprised what great harmonies come out of singing around. Here we go. Ready to end. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draws near the power, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draws near the power, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draws near the power, Spirit draw near. Wonderful. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation. This community envisions an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. Thank you so much for joining us today. Coming together, we are so glad that you're here. I'm the Reverend Mary Geer, and I'm honored to serve as the minister here. I use she, her pronouns. I am an older white woman in my early 60s. I have salt and pepper hair, dark brown and blue glasses. Today I have on a teal shirt and a black sweater, and the stole that was a gift from my Buddhist Sangha when I was ordained. Our speaker for today is Trystan Reese. Trystan is an award-winning author, facilitator, and coach, focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Radical things these days. He has been organizing with the trans community for nearly 2 decades, serving on the front lines of this generation's most significant fights for LGBTQ plus justice. An accomplished storyteller, Trystan has toured with the Moth MainStage's renowned team. The video of his Brooklyn performance has garnered over 2.6 million views online. And his story was subsequently included in the Moth's 2024 anthology, A Point of Beauty. Trystan shared with me his connection to Unitarian Universalist congregations dates back to 2008, when he was working on the No on Proposition 8 campaign to preserve the right of same-sex couples to marry. UU churches across California opened their doors and their basements to the campaign, welcoming phone banks, campaign meetings, and coalition gatherings throughout the fight. And after a brutal loss on Election Day, the Santa Monica UU Church threw a volunteer appreciation party that honored the incredible work performed by dozens of volunteers under Trystan's supervision. He has never forgotten that connection and is honored to continue working with UUs across the region to build more just, loving communities. Welcome, Trystan. You are welcome here just as you are. Whatever beliefs sustain you, whomever you love, however you understand and express your identity, and in all the ways you are growing and becoming. Here's a few things to know about our service today so you can feel as welcome as possible. We are streaming on Zoom and YouTube, and the service is being recorded to be put on our website later. For those in the sanctuary, you can see the sometimes creative subtitles on the screen in front. And for those on Zoom, you can see the subtitles online if you turn that on your device. We are a multi-generational community that welcomes people of all ages into our sanctuary. There is nursery care and a storytime program for children in the classroom wing. And over here, there are soft and fluffy chairs and activities for many hands of many ages so that everyone can be here in the way that supports them. Please be where you are most comfortable. We are so grateful for the many hands that make the service happen every Sunday morning, those visible and less visible. Thank you to all who contribute in so many ways. After the service, everyone will have a chance to discuss reflection questions that we've offered. For those online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual chat after the service. And for those on site, please feel free to stay for coffee and fellowship in the Commons. A few things to note that are happening. The OUC parent group meets this Thursday, August 7th at 6 p.m. at Lions Park Playground. You can check in with Reverend Sarah for more information. And you may have heard that we are asking for your help to make OUC an inclusive community for one of our young ones who has a severe peanut allergy. To help support their participation and the participation of their family in our community, we're trying to move to become a peanut-free facility. You'll see some signs around today that are posted. This is one of the ways that we take care of each other and live out our mission to welcome. So what that means for you is please don't bring any peanuts, peanut butter, or products that contain peanuts, including peanut oil, to OUC when you come. And thank you for helping to make our community safe for everyone. There are many things happening at OUC, even during the summer when things slow down just a little bit. You can check out the Tuesday update for more information or the website so that you can stay informed. Now, let's open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Sarah. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a middle-aged white woman with dark brown curly hair, today wearing a black dress. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition, with the words of Linda Lee Franson. We light this flame to ignite our hearts and minds, the spark of knowledge that enlightens, the shimmering hope that burns, the blazing love that engulfs our actions, the bonfire of our commitment. We light this flame for those who celebrate themselves, who fear, who hope, who persevere, who stand on the side of love for all. We light this flame for those who have been ridiculed, that they may find peace, for those who have fought to marry, that they may celebrate, for those who live in uncertainty in the world, that they may have hope. We light this flame to renew our commitment that no one shall ever again suffer for the right to love. We light this flame to celebrate our kaleidoscope of diversity, working, loving, and living on the side of love. For this, we light our flame.
As we gather this morning, we take a moment to honor the life of Gregory Robinson, who died last Sunday, July 20th, of complications related to lymphoma. Gregory was born on October 3rd, 1947, and raised in Los Angeles, California. He graduated high school, attended college, and earned a master's degree in business administration, an MBA, specializing in finance. During his career, he worked only in the public sector and for nonprofit organizations. He worked in the finance department for Harborview Hospital in Seattle. He was the chief financial officer for Eastside Mental Health Services in Seattle and the executive director for the Columbia River Mental Health Services in Vancouver, Washington. He retired from a position doing policy analysis for the Washington Council for Behavioral Health. Gregory met his wife, Carmel Shields, at a wine tasting event in Eugene, Oregon, where he was working and she was finishing her degree. When Carmel moved to Seattle for a job after graduation, the story is that Gregory followed her. They were married on January 3rd, 1985, and this last January celebrated their 40th anniversary. They have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Gregory and Carmel were members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Vancouver, Washington, before moving to Olympia, and they became members of this community in 2021. I got to know Gregory through his service on the finance consulting team, where he helped us transition to a new accounting system and where he helped maintain and sustain the financial health of the congregation. He so very kindly and generously offered his expertise as we have grown and changed these last years. He was also a devoted member of the OUUC Thursday Men's Beer Group. I knew Gregory as a very smart man with a very big heart. Gregory was diagnosed with lymphoma just last fall, and he lived with the disease and the treatment for the final months of his life. He died last Sunday at Providence St. Peter's Hospital, surrounded by his family and held in love. Carmel is planning a remembrance for Gregory, and we'll let you know all about that through the church newsletter. Carmel said she has no needs right now, but would welcome cards, so you can find her address in Realm, or you can ask for it at the church office. So today we send our love and care to Carmel and her family, Gregory's many friends, and to all those who mourn his passing. We light this candle in memory of Gregory Robinson. Our opening words for today are offered by Sharon Wiley, written for Transgender Day of Visibility. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you, every part of you beautiful just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here. Nothing to prove to me or the person next to you or to the children or to anyone. You don't have to try and be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you beautiful just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself in order to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful, just the way you are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from the other and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Come, let us worship together.
And let's sing together again out of the Gray Hymn Book, hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. I invite you to rise in body and our spirit. We are going to add a different third verse, and so if you're using a hymn book, glance up at the screen when we get there, because it won't be in the hymn book. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, will show the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night, and if you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give. On the road from our children to the future of the world where we live, and love will guide us, peace has guide us, hope inside us, it will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. It will. Thank you.
Good morning again. The story that I have for you today is about a UU chaplain named Quinn. And now a chaplain is a kind of minister or spiritual care provider who takes care of people somewhere other than when they're at church. So there's prison chaplains, military chaplains, hospital chaplains, other kinds of chaplains. And Quinn is a hospital chaplain. Quinn is also a trans woman, and she tells this story about her shoes. You see, at the hospital where Quinn works, she's become known as Chaplain's Sparkle Shoes because she loves sparkly shoes and loves to wear her sparkly shoes. There's a picture that Quinn shares of some of her favorite sparkle shoes. And this is kind of on purpose because Quinn finds that being a chaplain can be a little bit grim. That she felt like when people saw her coming down the hall, they were like, oh no, here comes the chaplain. She didn't want to feel like the Grim Reaper. She wanted to bring joy to people. And so, the sparkle shoes. And sparkle shoes, Quinn says, are magical. She says that they have magic powers. They have the magical power to make children laugh and be a little less afraid than they were before. They have the magical power to make quiet old ladies giggle and start a conversation. They have the magical power to take cranky old men and make them smile and flirt, and they even have the magical power sometimes to get patients to get up and dance. And they have the magical power that they go with any color and any outfit. So, Quinn loves her sparkle shoes. But things have been feeling a little bit different recently for Quinn. In this current political climate and government administration, Quinn's been feeling a little bit more reserved. And one day she found herself getting dressed for work and realized that she was dressed in all black. Black dress, black tights, black earrings, all black. It felt kind of like armor, like something that you would put on to go into battle. And so Quinn put on her black combat boots to go with this. Now she was really dressed for battle. And she almost left the house like that. But then she turned around and went back and took off the boots and put back on her sparkle shoes. And looking at herself in the mirror, she said, "Quinn, they don't get to take away our joy." May that be so. May everyone keep their joy. Thus ends our story.
Each Sunday, we engage in the spiritual practices of gratitude and generosity by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. This is an opportunity to express our gratitude for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and for the presence of this community. We each have the power to share. And when we combine our gifts to create an offering, together we are able to do so much more than any single one of us alone. If you are new or visiting us for the first or second time, you are our guest, and we do not expect you to contribute. And if you are moved to be part of our offering, what you donate will be accepted with gratitude. The offering that we collect here this morning does two things. It helps support the ongoing work of this congregation, which is also supported by your regular pledges. And this offering supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. Our Share the Plate organization for July and August is GRUB, Garden Raised Bounty, which is just a block from here in our own neighborhood. GRUB's program, Growing Home Collective, centers the reality that Black people's huge contribution of genius, skills, and stolen labor was crucial in creating the United States. Including a reparations-based approach, the Growing Home Collective reduces barriers for Black people to access GRUB's programs, resources, and leadership opportunities. Led by an advisory group with Black staff and community members, this group co-creates affinity programming by, with, and for Black people to center Black self-determination, creativity, and lived experience. We know that our financial contributions come from sacrifice and hard work. With gratitude, we commit together to ensure the funds that we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and for our world. May this offering sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. Thank you so much for your generosity in all the ways you share your many gifts. This morning, we do what humans have done for all of our existence. We gather. We gather in times of worry and anxiety and in times of celebration and joy. We come into our community bringing all that's on our minds and in our hearts. So let's open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. You will hear a drumbeat. Allow its resonance to enter into your body. It's the heartbeat of life, the heartbeat of our community. I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Feel the air as it enters and leaves your body. Feel the earth solid beneath us. Feel the warmth of connection. This past Saturday, environmental activist and author Joanna Macy died at the age of 96. She was a Buddhist teacher who helped bring the reality of climate chaos into the mainstream and who offered sustainable ways to maintain hope when despair would be easy. May we offer gratitude for her life and work as we continue the work to which she dedicated her life. And today we send our love and care to Gregory Robinson's wife, Carmel Shields, and their family. Carmel, may you know that we mourn with you and we hold you in love during this time of loss. Now let's open our circle wide. For those on Zoom, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. Those of us in the sanctuary will be able to see your sharing on the screen, and it's shared with me and the pastoral care team. For those on site today, I invite you to come forward if there's something you'd like to bring into this community. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. So let's hear the heartbeat of our community as we reach out our hearts in love and care to all who share today. We place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online. shared from the heart. And we'll place one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. We hold together all that has been shared. May you feel yourself witnessed. May you know yourself beloved. Let's take a moment now to harmonize our bodies and our breath. Please be in whatever way is comfortable for you to hum. So in a moment, I'm going to start humming, and I invite you to join me. Just pick a note and hum. Change your note, stay on the same, harmonize, whatever you would like. Just hum and enjoy the vibrations that we will create together, vibrations that also go over the internet. I invite you to place a hand on your heart or on your belly so you can feel the vibrations that you make in your body. We'll hum for a bit, and when we're done, we'll be in silence together.
You to remain seated, and let's sing together hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quiet.
Thank you. What a joy to be with you all today. I'm Trystan Reese. I use he, him pronouns. I'm joining you I drove up from Portland, Oregon very early this morning to be with you all today. And to do a visual description of myself, I am a 40s man with salt and pepper hair, still more pepper than salt, but changing quickly. And I'm in a turquoise plaid shirt. And I'm here to talk to you all today a little bit about family and a little bit about possibilities. As a transgender man, it's been a hard year. I don't know if you all have heard this. So actually, we're going to go back in time a little so that my story makes a bit more sense. We're going to go back in time 8 years. And if you can imagine, pre-COVID, we were on, right around then was when it was an exciting time for my family because we were about to elect the first woman president, Hillary Clinton, to be president of the US, which was an exciting time. And it was about that time that my family decided that we would tell our family's story pretty publicly. And my partner and I became parents overnight when we were 1 year into our relationship. In gay years, that's a pretty long time. But in straight years, 1 year is not a long time to have been together. But about 1 year in, we got a phone call from a social worker letting us know that my partner's niece and nephew needed a place to live that was safe and loving, and could they come and live with us, please? And in the sacred tradition of often LGBTQ plus family members are the last ones without kids already. And so often when kids need a home and they sort of go through the Rolodex of family, we're the ones that are left. And that is what happened with us. And so they came to live with us. They were aged 1 and 3. However you became a parent, for those of you who are, it's not a contest, but I bet if it was, I would win in terms of the hardest parenting journey. I do not recommend going from 0 to 2 children overnight with no warning. And no diapers or bed for them to sleep in. But we figured it out. Again, it's not a contest, but if you think you were unprepared, we were more unprepared than you. Did you know at the inside of those pants, those buttons and the elastic, that is to adjust the waistband? Okay, well, nobody told me except for the mom at the playground when the 3-year-old's pants kept falling down, and she was like, "What do you think that is for?" And I was like, "I did it. I don't know." So it was definitely trial by fire, going from 0 to 2 toddlers, 1 year into a relationship. We lived in a 7th floor walk-up in an apartment building in Hollywood, California, right off the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So super fun when you're in your 20s and gay, not fun when you have 2 kids. So we did end up moving to Pasadena and then up to Portland. And it was our most fervent wish that these 2 beautiful kids could reunite with their first family, that their first family could have all the supports they needed to be able to take care of them and invite them back into their home. And after many years of trying, unfortunately, that did not happen. And so with, openness and gladness and gratitude in our hearts, we became their forever family. And we did legally adopt them when they were 5 and 7. And because perhaps I'm a glutton for punishment, but it was around that time that I sat down with my partner and proposed possibly having a 3rd child, but a child that we had, the 2 of us, biologically. So I'm a transgender man. That means I was assigned female at birth. And when I transitioned, I kept all of my reproductive organs. And so I was able to conceive and carry a child and give birth myself. And I thought this was super cool because I was always told that 2 men could not make a baby. Take that, right? So again, LGBTQ people, we love hacking a system. I was very excited, and my partner was like, "Sure, if you want, but also this is a really bad idea." And mostly because he was worried about what it would be like for me to navigate the world as a pregnant man. I did a lot of research because I'm a nerd. And there's actually a ton of data on transgender pregnancy. So for a lot of people, my pregnancy story, if they ever heard it, was the first one, but I'm one of hundreds, maybe thousands all over the world who've given birth. This is not a new thing. It's not different. It's actually kind of boring in the trans community. But I still wanted to make sure. So I dug into the research. Everything seemed okay. I reached out to my dad, who just retired. He was a physician for many years. And I said, Dad, tell me what we know about trans pregnancy. He sent me all the articles and research in his very doctory way. He was like, Trystan, trans pregnancy, safe, healthy, provided testosterone ceases 3 months prior to conception. Good luck. Thanks, Dad. Okay. So I knew that medically it was safe and advisable. Socially, I was pretty sure I could handle it. We live in Portland, where maybe if you see a pregnant man at Starbucks, that's like not the weirdest thing you've seen that day. Hopefully that joke carries over into Olympia. I think it does. Great. And so we proceeded with going through trying to conceive. And, a lot of people will ask me and any other LGBTQ person who wants to have a child biologically, well, why don't you just adopt? Which we had already done. And I often tell people, that word just is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Because not only is adoption, it's very expensive and very difficult to have people, social workers, investigators coming into your home, standing in front of a judge with that fear. Just one judge has to look at you and think, that's not what a family looks like. And then your whole future is decided by this person that you have no control over. It's very scary. But I think most importantly, unless a first family or first parents have passed away, you're becoming a parent because someone else is no longer a parent. And that is a heavy thing to carry, right? It is a big responsibility of an adoptive parent that we carry every single day. And we are very grateful to be able to be parents, and we don't take lightly how difficult that process was for us, but more importantly for our kids and for their biological parents. And so the idea of growing our family was something we wanted to do. The idea of doing it in that kind of a way was not something we wanted to do again. So it was actually cheaper and more straightforward for me to carry the pregnancy myself and to give birth myself, which we then proceeded to do. So I stopped my testosterone, regained my cycle, we conceived, I got pregnant, and around that time, I saw a video of a transgender woman of color, Janet Mock, one of the trans icons, doing an interview with a very well-meaning journalist asking her quite a few invasive questions about her body. Right, what procedures she'd had done, those kinds of things. And Janet Mock, as well as many of our trans icons, handled it with just absolute ease, but it didn't feel easy for me to watch this. Because as a transgender man, there's not a lot of us in the media, right? There's not a lot of stories you hear about. There are just as many of us as there are trans women. Where are we? It's because as transgender men, we were told that if you're handed a microphone, you hand it off to a trans woman right away. Preferably a transgender woman of color, right? They are more impacted by transphobia because they're more visible, because they sit at that intersection of transphobia and sexism and racism if they're people of color, right? They're the ones whose stories should be told, should be elevated. We are very good at doing this, and we support each other with this sort of like cultural message from the time someone comes out. So I've always done that. But then watching this interview, and seeing all these incredible transgender women who have really risen to be these cultural icons and storytellers and educators, I started to feel a little creeped out. Like maybe we'd gone too far. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe by, I think, well-meaning, handing off the mic, now this responsibility, this burden was placed onto the people who have the fewest amount of resources to support them when they tell their stories. Right? That double-edged sword of visibility. It means that you do become a target. And so as my pregnancy proceeded, I started to think, maybe it's my responsibility as well to take the mic back and to start to tell my story, to be willing to suffer the slings and arrows of visibility, given all of the privilege that I have as a transgender man who most people wouldn't necessarily know I'm trans if they saw me, right? As a white transgender man who lives in Portland with a supportive family, come on. You know, like who else has as many resources as I do to put myself out there? And again, I sat my poor, long-suffering partner down and I said, I think the world is ready for a different kind of trans story. I think the world is ready to see a story that is about love, and it's about family, and it's about community, and it's about possibility, right? In the trans community, we don't have role models, we have possibility models. We don't believe in putting anyone on a pedestal. It's why I think we have fewer trans people who've ever been canceled than any other minority of a community, because, well, that's just a person, right? And I wanted to be part of other trans people seeing what's possible. No pressure, right? Do not have a kid if you don't want to. And you could, though, maybe. And once again, my partner was like, this is a terrible idea. But I live in a world of rainbows and unicorns, and I was like, I think people are gonna think this is awesome, right? I think even non-trans people are gonna see this and be like, oh my, there's so many ways to do this thing called life, right? So many ways to be a man, so many ways to be trans, so many ways to be a parent. And so again, my poor partner Biff was like, I mean, it's your story. If you wanna tell it, of course I support you. And so we went back to a podcast that we had partnered with to tell our adoption story. They'd been really lovely. I thought maybe a few dozen people might hear it. It was like my mom could send the podcast to her friends, right? When they were asking, like, what do you mean your son's pregnant? She could be like, here, listen, right? And so we did the podcast. It came out while I was asleep. And while I was asleep, all of the tabloids on the other side of the planet in the UK were very hard at work on the pregnant man story. They did not get the memo that hundreds, maybe thousands of other trans people have become parents in all kinds of ways, right? There was something about this story at this time which kind of lit a little bit of a fire in terms of the media. So I woke up in the morning, it was everywhere. A lot of the things they said were not accurate. Turns out they don't care. I did not know. Also, I was like, wow, 128,000 comments. I wonder what people have to say. Okay, where were you guys? I really could have used someone to be like, yoink, and just taken that phone away. So yes, long story short, the comments were not all supportive. However, enough of them were that I decided to keep going. And so I really proactively sought out journalists who were thoughtful, who were considerate, who were gonna make sure that things were accurate, to make sure they knew that I am not the pregnant man, I am a, right? And my transcestors have been building families in all kinds of magical ways, because our bodies are magical, right? Our communities are magical. And it was a challenging time, but I did get to go to an event a few months after my son was born, a trans family building event. And someone stood, I said, what questions do people have? And someone stood up and he was wearing a shirt that said, Dad bod in process, right? Which I think you're supposed to wear if you're a man and you hit a certain age and you start getting a little chubby. But he was pregnant, which I thought, this is very clever. We are clever people. And he said, you know, I never thought that I could build a family until I saw your story, and now I'm pregnant and I get to be a dad. Right? So even with all of the negative comments, still there was enough of that positivity going through that I was excited to keep telling the story. And I've always done education work. I've always, facilitated strategic planning retreats, things like that. But I did decide that I wanted to make this family building and this trans family building work my life's work when Leo was only about 6 months old, and he's right there. He's 8 now. Well, he was just a baby. And I was presenting at a conference, the largest LGBTQ conference in the country. And it was in DC, and there's like a big rotunda, a big opening event, and I'm there and I have him in my arms, and this very tall black transgender woman comes up to me and says, oh, can I hold your baby? I said, of course, She takes him in her arms and she starts to cry. I said, sister, what's happening? And she said, I know who you are, I saw your story, and until I read your story, I didn't know a trans person could be a parent. and now it's too late for me. Because she had transitioned to the point, sometimes transgender people have the parts of their bodies removed that they could have used to have a biological child, and she had already done that. And no one had told her, by the way, if you take this step, have you thought about, would you ever want to have a biological child? No one had ever asked her. And then it was too late. And so the idea, again, being a community that loves possibility, the idea that someone's possibility was taken away without their knowledge or consent was something I just realized that night. I didn't sleep. It was a very comfy hotel bed, and I just tossed and turned, and I thought, I have to be a part of changing it. This is my work. And so I'm here to remind you all of all the possibilities that exist, and to remind you that if there is a time when someone gives you a microphone, whether it's social media, whether it's with your family, you may be tempted to hand it off. Maybe for good reason. Are you the right person in this moment? But also maybe because it's easier to hand it off and to think, well, it's not my story to tell. And this is a time where we need everyone on every microphone. And you may think you're preaching to the choir, but as an anti-war activist, now it's not going to come to me. Amazing anti-war activist whose name will come to me in a moment. She says, you may think that, Cindy Sheehan, there it is, you may think that you're preaching to the choir, but not everyone in the choir is singing. So even when you imagine, of course my friends know that the transgender community is under attack right now. Of course the people in my life know that we need to show up and speak out against the things that are occurring right now. They may not know, or they may not feel that it's their role or possibility or their responsibility. They may need you to say, no, we actually need everyone right now. Because right now in 12 states, they're moving forward with legislation to make a trans person prove that they're sterile in order to change their birth certificate. And this is something that's been in other countries for many years. But our country doesn't have a good reputation when it comes to deciding who should have children and who should not have children, right? This is an issue of reproductive justice, of reproductive access, because not every trans person may want to have a child, but some of us do, right? And we should have the ability to decide how and when and if that happens. And for many of us, that possibility is being taken away. So whether you think you're already in the choir, whether you think you have a story to share or not, we hope that you stand with us. We hope that you do accept the mic when it's given to you, and that whatever your zone of influence is, wherever you are able to make a difference, that you do that. Because there are so many of us who want to build our little empires of love, however that looks like for us. And for some of us, that's the safest place we have, is our homes, our families, whatever that means again. So that we can live the kind of world that I know Unitarians are seeking, which is one of truth and love and acceptance and peace. So thank you all for listening to my story. Thanks to my son who's here. And I'm sure he'll want to tell his own story if you'd like to talk to him afterwards. I try to empower him to do that as much as I can. And have a really wonderful rest of your day and week. Thanks for having me.
I invite you to rise and let's sing together out of the Teal Hymn Book, hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone?
That your loving is a miracle.
Trystan and Leo, thank you so much for being with us today. We extinguish our chalice with the words of Alex Capitan. So if anyone ever tries to invalidate you or the way you seek intimacy by saying, it's just a choice, tell them choice is sacred. Tell them that in your faith tradition, we don't love people despite their differences or because they can't help being different. We love people because of their differences, and because diversity enriches our world and our communities. Tell them that in the final reckoning, there is only one choice that will be judged, and that's their choice. Tell them you hope they will choose love. May you go with joy, go with commitment, go with love.